Today I'm going to be making a healthy Parmesan sprinkle, for salads, pastas, or pizzas. It uses 1 cup of raw cashews, 1 teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and 4 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. Now I'm going to be using my hand processor, but you can go ahead and mince these cashews up by hand if you want. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I add is the raw cashews. Go ahead and mince them up. Okay, that's the consistency I like to see. It's kind of like granules. Okay, so the second thing I add is the nutritional yeast. We'll go ahead and put the salt in there. And the garlic powder. And that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and mix this up. And there you go. That's pretty much it. The next thing you do is just transfer it into a jar of sort. And there you go, Parmesan cheese. Very good. Now I can go ahead and put this in the refrigerator. It keeps for a pretty good long time. Lasagna has always been a favorite dish of mine, and when I came up with a delicious whole plant-based version of it, I was really excited. And today I'm going to be using some spinach, some zucchini, some fresh basil, some mushrooms, some chickpeas, some tofu. But first, let's get started on those noodles because they always take so much time. And then I can get started on some of the other stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead with my ricotta mix. I usually start with about half a cup of fresh basil. I go with about a 1/4 cup of raw cashews, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of dried parsley, a little bit of pepper, some salt, and we'll go ahead and chop this up. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now I'll go ahead with a teaspoon and a half of Dijon mustard, a teaspoon and a half of balsamic vinegar, 1 teaspoon of tamari, half a cup of nutritional yeast, 1 can of chickpeas, and of course some lemon juice. Let's go ahead and get that going. Okay, a little bit of vegetable broth. Let's scoop it off the sides a little bit with my scraper. Mix it up again. Okay, that's looking really good. And as you can see, I've got these paper towels underneath each layer of the tofu. The whole idea of this is to draw out some of the moisture. Now, I've been replacing these throughout the whole time I've been making the lasagna. Now, as you can see, there's not much moisture left, so I think these are about good and ready to start crumbling up. And I just use my hands and I just kind of break it up into little tiny pieces, similar to like ricotta cheese. Okay, so I've crumbled up all the tofu, but I got one more chance to go ahead and towel blot it one more time, just to get that extra moisture out of the tofu. Okay, so I put my crumbled tofu in a bowl, so let's go ahead and put my basil and chickpea mix. Let's mix this up. Now you can always taste it just to see how things are going. Just a tad bit more salt, just a tad. There we go. And we'll mix this in. Alright, this is mixed in pretty good. So now we're going to go ahead and start chopping up the rest of the vegetables and start sauteing them in my frying pan. Now, as you can see, I've cut my vegetables up kind of small. I want to keep them less bulky in between each noodle. So let's go ahead and get these sauteing. Okay, so I'll go ahead and add a little bit of vegetable broth so I can start sauteing these vegetables. Okay, so these are coming along great. See, the moisture's just starting to evaporate a little bit. This is totally optional. I like to put in just a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, but this is just for your own taste, whatever you like. These are coming along real good. Okay, I just preheated my oven at 350, so now it's time to go ahead and start assembling the lasagna. The first thing I usually like to do is to start with my marinara sauce at the bottom of the pan. Yeah, I just like to get a thin layer at the bottom. Maybe a little more. Okay. Then I'll go ahead and put a layer of noodles on there. Kind of pat it down a little bit to make sure there's no air. Then I'll put my ricotta mix on there. Okay, now this is the tricky part. You want to kind of just spread it out evenly on top of the noodles like this. Okay, then I put a layer of spinach, just kind of lay them on there. There. Then I put a little bit of the vegetables in there. And just kind of distribute them evenly as best I can. Put a little bit more sauce in there. Kind of spread this around. Another layer of noodles on top of this. Make sure you get out all the air. So I've pre-cut these noodles for this particular pan. I'm going to go ahead and put some more of my ricotta mix. Another layer of spinach. A little bit more vegetables. Okay, a little bit more sauce. I've got room for one more layer. Put that on there. A little more of my ricotta mix. And I want to kind of pat it down a little bit. Then I go ahead and finish it off with a layer of sauce. So as you can see, I'm not quite all the way up to the top. I don't want to trip it over into the oven and get all messy. So it's just short of the top. So go ahead and spread this around, nice and even. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven. Oh, does that smell great. So I ended up leaving it in the oven for about 35 minutes, but again, that depends on where you live. And there you have it, lasagna. Now this is one of those meals that you might want to make on a Saturday or Sunday when you have a little bit more time. Maybe you have some special guests that are coming over, but I'm sure they're going to love it.